All right, guys. So there's been a lot of drama surrounding Batman in film, right? A couple days ago, you get that report where uh, I think Variety or the Hollywood Reporter reported that uh, the Batman Part 2 was getting delayed another year to 2027, meaning that the film would come out 5 years after the Batman, which upsets me very deeply. um, and then we also saw Andy Muschietti go on some podcast essentially saying that The Brave and the Bold has been delayed to some extent and that he might even direct another movie before directing The Brave and the Bold. And just a crazy speculation and whatnot kind of surrounding the whole thing. But now, and I already made a video talking about it, but now we also have some updates. So we're going to go through those updates. I'm just going to lay out some of my updated thoughts. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So, oh, we're not actually going to look at this yet. So James Gunn on Thread has actually acknowledged the situation, right? So some guy said, "Hello, James Gunn. Can you please confirm whether this is true or add some more context if possible?" So James Gunn says, "Sure. Yes, it is true. The only reason for the delay is there isn't a full script. Those of you who follow me here probably know that already. Matt is committed to making the best film he possibly can, and no one can accurately guess exactly how long a script will take to write. Once there is a finished script, there is around 2 years for pre production, shooting, and post production on big films." So, on the one hand, if we want to take that at face value, I kind of appreciate, that James Gunn is sticking to his guns to some extent, pun not intended, and going, hey, we are not going to move forward on a project until we have a finished script. We are not going to go into production on a project until we have a finished script. Other studios would probably say, "Oh, Matt, what you're saying you can't do it? Well, we're gonna go get Joe Schmo," right? Like, you know, actually, we're if we want to compare like Marvel Studios, um, but there everything is that's going on with Bo DeMayo now. Not a one-to-one comparison. Bo DeMayo allegedly did some things. You know what I mean? Like, who knows if it was fair or not for them to fight them? See, kind of seems like it was. That's kind of where I'm leaning, but I don't actually know for sure. Either way, they fire Bo DeMayo. Who do they get to write X-Men 97 season 2? Or showrun the next two seasons? They get the writers of What If. I can't remember if it's the showrunners or the writers of What If, but What If people are now doing X-Men 97. That does not make me hopeful. I would have much preferred if they had like paused, gone, hold on, either gone, okay, let's really look into the Bo DeMayo situation, maybe see if we can work it out, maybe see if he can still be on board. If not, okay, let's pause. Let's go out and get somebody on the level of Bo DeMayo that's we can reasonably think is going to make X-Men 97 as good as Bo DeMayo did. No, they needed to keep that train rolling, and they brought on What If writers. Now, hey, to their credit, they also did good with Daredevil, where they just scrapped Daredevil. They brought in new showrunners and whatnot, so they did good with Daredevil. They're also to their credit, they just scrapped Blade, and they're like, okay, we need to make sure Blade is good. So it's not like they don't do it, but sometimes they do. And other studios absolutely, will just bring somebody else in to continue the Batman movies. So I guess I say all this to say that at the end of the day, I would rather have a fantastic The Batman Part 2 over a rushed, mediocre The Batman Part 2. That's just me. Even if I have to wait 5 years. So, but that's what James Gunn is saying. That's what he's saying. Studio executives say a lot of things. Maybe there's other things going on. We'll get into that in a minute. But James Gunn also decided to say this. So this is a response to a post. It says post not available. I don't know if that guy deleted his post or whatever, but either way, this statement stands on its own. So he said, to be fair, a 5-year gap or more is fairly common in sequels. 7 years between Alien and Aliens, 14 years between Incredibles, 7 years between the first 2 Terminators, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between Top Guns, and of course, 6 years between Guardians Volume 2 and Volume 3. Now, I also want to read this response down here because it's kind of a because it's a popular sentiments. People are saying the difference is that Alien, Terminator, The Incredibles, misspelled, opinion discarded, and Avatar were all standalone feature films disconnected from a larger universe, all of which did not announce a sequel until years after their release. Nobody was waiting on bended knees for a sequel to a self-contained story. As for Guardians, those characters appeared multiple times between those 2 installments, including a standalone short film. The Batman was announced to have a sequel, was left on a cliffhanger, and delayed. Okay, well, it wasn't left on a cliffhanger, and the characters of the Batman, like some of the characters, right, were in the Penguin series. So, I mean, his whole thing is kind of his whole thing. We'll take Guardians out of the equation. A lot of people, I think, are validly pointing out that a lot of the other examples, they're not necessarily valid because those were just sequels that happened to be made, right? The Batman the Batman Part 2 being delayed is indicative of issues behind the scenes. And I think that is completely valid. But I think to James Gunn's point, it doesn't negate the point that 5 years between sequels is not necessarily unfounded. It's not necessarily that big of a deal. And it's not like and it doesn't necessarily mean that that audiences won't accept the Batman Part 2 like once it comes out. Like I've seen some people saying like, I mean, if it's going to be 5 years, you might as well just scrap it, you know? And I do kind of agree with James Gunn in the sense that no, like if it comes out 5 years from now, audiences are still going to want to watch it. Like I don't agree with this idea that audiences are going to be like, they're going to have like no interest because they would have just forgotten the Batman or something like that. So I kind of get where James Gunn is coming from there. I think that like, yes, there are clearly problems behind the scenes. They clearly wanted to have this movie come out earlier, but that doesn't negate the fact that 5 years between sequels isn't necessarily that big of a deal. It's not necessarily unfounded when it comes to sequels. I think he is correct there. Okay. So all that being said, I also wanted to watch this little clip here from the Hot Mic podcast. This is the podcast between John Roca and Jeff Schneider. Jeff Schneider, he is a scooper. You know, he has a pretty good track record, right? Like he broke like the Jeremy Allen White in The Mandalorian and Grogu recently. He was actually proven to be, I think, probably correct on that whole Spider-Verse situation. So I think he is a reputable source. So we're gonna listen to this and then we'll talk about it.
Oh my god! Do I? How many? It's like talking to a wall, guys.
Hold on, I think that should probably be louder for you guys. Give me a moment.
Asking you, do you have an idea?
I know, and I cannot. I'm not going to say. Do you not understand?
Okay. All right. So you know. So when you tell us that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, you do know
personal shit. It's personal.
Okay, fair. So you know what's going on behind the scenes. You think that's the reason the script isn't ready. That's what you think.
I don't think it. I know it.
Well, okay. Well, I'm
okay. So Jeff Schneider is plainly stating there that he knows that the reason why the script isn't ready is because Matt Reeves has been going through some personal things. And listen, knowing that, it kind of just makes me go, I don't know what it is, and because I don't know what it is, I'm just not going to get too worked up over it. Cuz like obviously like if Matt Reeves has some kind of illness or something, or maybe he's taking care of like a sick relative, I don't I have no fucking idea. And it's keeping him from being able to put all of his attention on writing a freaking Batman script. Obviously that's understandable. So I'm just being honest. Like I don't want to like cape too hard for DC or Batman or James Gunn or anything, but like putting all of this together, putting together the fact that 5 years between sequels, it's just not necessarily it's not like that's never happened before. It's not at the end of the day, it's just not that big of a deal. And adding on the thing of, hey, apparently Matt Reeves might be going through some personal issues behind the scenes. It's like, considering that could be serious or something, it's like, I just have no interest in getting on the internet and being like, I want my Batman movie now. Like, I don't know. I can't really do that. So, you know, to address some of the other stuff, like, obviously, a lot of this is bringing into question, like, well, what about the Andy Muschietti thing? Right? Like, could it be that they're trying to rope Robert Pattinson Batman into the DCU? That's still possible, right? Like, it's possible that he hasn't finished the script because he's going through some personal issues, and the reason why he's still working on the script is because he's trying to rope it into the DCU. That's possible. And is it possible that James Gunn is maybe going to end up kicking or deleting the Reeves verse? Yeah, that's also theoretically possible. Although I still maintain from my older video where I think if anything, the Brave and the Bold is getting deleted in favor of Robert Pattinson Batman being a part of the DCU. I don't think that the opposite would ever happen, where the Reeves verse is deleted and then we're bringing in Andy Muschietti to shepherd Batman. I don't think there's a possibility. I think it's either they're doing Elseworlds like they said they were going to do, and we're going to have two Batmen, or the Reeves verse Batman is the DCU Batman. I think those are the two possibilities, realistically. But at the end of the day, we just don't know. We don't have a ton of information, and considering some of the reasonings behind all of this is that Matt Reeves might be going through some personal issues, I'm just going to stand back and wait for more information to come. Am I disappointed? Yes. Am I like angry? Not really. I don't know. But yeah, just let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's just hard to talk about it when we don't know. So let's just not get too upset about it, and get to what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my god, I'm thinking of the word. I can't think of it. But let's just not start coming to conclusions for too quickly when we simply don't really have enough information to reach those conclusions. But either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.